This is the Artiphon Orba. You might have seen me do a review on this about a while back, and in that review I covered some of the ways this thing works and a possible workflow using this with an iPad for iPad music production, using this as a MIDI controller and even some standalone features that it has. But now this is the second coming of the Orba by Artiphon. This is the Orba 2. And I wanted to check this out to see if they made any improvements and see if they took any of our advice from the mobile beat making community to see if they made this something that could be a little bit more useful in our workflow. So let's talk about it. So outside of the logo in the center of the device, I'm not seeing any real physical changes. These two devices are actually pretty much identical, even down to the ports and the buttons. Speakers are all the same, well, externally. But I think this was more or less of an external upgrade, a more internal and software upgrade. First thing I did notice was how much louder the Orba 2 is than the original Orba. The speakers on the Orba 2 definitely carry a lot more bass, and it has a lot more presence in the mid-range, and it's a lot more crispier in the higher frequencies. This may have something to do with those internal upgrades that I mentioned. Coming from the Orba 2, you can definitely tell that this is just a lot more punchier. Artiphon has said that they have upgraded the synth engine from the ground up on the Orba 2. And I can definitely tell it's a completely different sound. And one of its upgrades also include the ability for this to play full live audio samples. The Orba 2 even has its own upgraded app. This is available for your mobile devices on iOS, as well as a desktop app that you can use to, manipulate this thing, to control how it behaves and choose your different sounds and so much more. So let's talk about what's new. So like I said, unlike the original Orba, the Orba 2 has the ability to play audio samples. You're actually able to sample within the app things from the real world using your mobile device and use those samples as a playable instrument. One of my favorite parts about that feature is the ability to import your own samples. So if you have like one shots or anything melodic, you can actually play these with the Artiphon Orba. And yep, it pretty much behaves the same exact way as the Orba 1, only it sounds better and it plays better sounds to me. Now there are still a few drawbacks that I do have with this. Like one of the things is that when I'm connecting with the app, depending on the file size, in order to bring some of those samples over onto the Orba, I have to connect it with a USB Type-C cable. And that's either with my iPad, my mobile device, or even with a desktop, which, I mean, it's understandable because it will probably take a very long time for sample files that are large like that to kind of make its way over to the Orba but over the air through Bluetooth. I guess I could deal with that part. Once your sounds are loaded onto your Orba, you can unplug, untether. You got these on-screen animations, and even when you're tilting and moving your Orba, you can see how your sounds are being manipulated and affected on screen. You can still use this as a MIDI controller, but using this standalone has just gotten that much more fun now that we have the sampling feature available. But there's a drawback with the sampler because I do wish that I was able to manipulate the samples once I've recorded them, control how they behave once they're triggered on the Orba, or even just, I don't know, time stretch or, pitch them up and down myself. Once you record that sample, it's kind of play as is. Choose an instrument profile that you want to drop it onto, and then you can play them by key scale on each individual pad. The good thing about that is that a lot of the presets on here sound really, really good. They sound like something that I could use to, start some songs and create some fun ideas on the go or on the spot, and even possibly use them as placeholders for when I want to recreate the beat at home or, when I get to my actual production gear. One of the other things that I do feel like is a missed opportunity, and I hope they add this in the near future, is that you can't really sample your own drums into here. You can. I thought that I would be able to drag and drop my own samples into each pad individually and play my own drum samples or import my own drum samples or even recording my own drum samples to each pad. But yeah, you're kind of stuck with the drums that they have in the presets, which most of them are pretty cool anyway. You're just playing around with this stuff, so I wouldn't get too excited about drum sampling on here. But it would have been dope to be able to have my own drums in my pocket and playing these whenever I felt like it. So yeah, I felt like that was just a missed opportunity. Just if Artiphon was able to integrate this a little bit more like a traditional sampler, I don't care, even using the app, this would be a lot more useful to me. So who do I think this is for? I can see me handing this off to my kids while I'm in here getting studio work done so they don't have to touch any of my stuff. You know, dad life. Or I could see this for somebody who wants to start their journey making beats and they just don't have any skill or any prior experience with any instruments. Even without any skills or instruments under your belt, you could actually have a lot of fun with this and make beats really easily using this thing. These are the type of devices that actually get songs started. I can imagine being in a studio where these are just sitting around and people are, you know, coming up with song ideas, songwriters and singers who don't necessarily play instruments but know what they want to hear. These types of devices could enable you to still be able to contribute to the creative process while you're in the room. Whether that's using this as a MIDI controller over the air or tethered, or even just coming up with some quick beats and some song ideas right here on the fly. Even down to the port options, you can actually plug headphones into this and just jam out privately, or you can pass this around to a friend and you guys can collaborate on a quick beat. You could then take that quick beat, recreate it, and then now you have a whole session worth of, you know, just playing around and making beats. I think that the Artiphon Orba is actually pretty cool. It's pocketable, it's small, it's lightweight, and it's pretty durable. It's really easy to use and really easy to get songs started and really, you know, just fun, overall fun to play with. Using a lot of the presets and the built-in sounds in here, you can actually have a lot of fun and get real inspired. You can actually create anything from dark trap vibes to anything like the most colorful of beats on this Artiphon Orba 2. Sample your voice or sample your dog barking, doesn't even matter. This is just an overall fun fidget toy or something that can contribute to the creative process in the future. So this was the Artiphon Orba 2. I'm Brandon Rico. Thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for rocking with the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.